Good day, Honorable Minister, distinguished members of the panel, and colleagues. Today, I will be speaking on the issue of student disengagement and absenteeism in Caribbean schools, and I'll focus on how educational leaders can respond through stronger leadership, governance, and support systems. Across the Caribbean, disengagement and absenteeism appears in different ways. Some students are repeatedly absent, some arrive late, others attend school but do not participate, they avoid assignments, or show little belief that schooling will improve their future. As educational leaders, we must ask, are students rejecting education, or is the education system failing to connect with their realities? Research by Reeves and his colleagues show that student engagement is closely linked to achievement, motivation, social support, and well-being. This means that disengagement is not just an academic issue, it is also a social, emotional, and institutional issue. Absenteeism refers to a child who exhibits repeated absence from school. At first, absenteeism may appear to be a simple attendance issue. A student is either present or absent. But when we look deeper, absenteeism often signals wider challenges. It may reflect poverty, transportation difficulties, family instability, academic failure, low motivation, weak schools connection, or emotional distress. Similarly, student engagement does not only mean that a student is absent from school. A student may be physically present in a class but mentally, emotionally, or behaviorally disconnected from learning. Reeves and his colleagues explain that engagement includes behavioral, emotional, cognitive, and agentic participation. This means that a student must not only attend school, they must also participate, think, feel, feel connected, and believe that their voice matter. This issue is especially significant in the Caribbean because education has long been viewed as a pathway to social mobility, employment, and national development. For many Caribbean families, education represents opportunity and hope. When students disconnect from schools, we are not only losing classroom time, we are weakening our future workforce, our civic life, and our regional competitiveness. However, our schools are now operating in a more complex environment shaped by poverty, youth unemployment, migration, crime and violence, family instability, and a changing attitude towards schooling. Several stakeholders are affected by this issue. Students lose learning time, fall behind. One of our first stakeholders who are affected are our students. These students lose learning time, they fall behind academically, and they may lose confidence. Another stakeholders are parents, which experience strength and concerns about their child's future. Teachers also face increased workloads because they must reteach lessons, adjust assignments, and support students at different levels. School leaders are also affected as they must manage attendance, discipline, achievement, welfare, and accountability. At the national level, Ministry of Education and the communities are affected because disengaged students may leave school without the skills needed for work or citizenship. Regional evidence show why this issue must be taken serious. UNICEF reports that while attendance may appear relatively high, attainment remains low, with many students not achieving strong results in the Caribbean Secondary School Education Certificate. The World Bank also describes the Caribbean as facing a learning and skill crisis, particularly in foundational areas such as mathematics and English. These findings suggest that many students are not mastering the skills needed for further education, employment, and productive citizenship. The COVID-19 pandemic intensified these problems further. UNESCO notes that Latin America and the Caribbean experienced major disruptions to schooling, and many students were excluded from learning or insufficiently engaged during school closure. Students without internet access, devices, quiet study spaces, or adult support were especially disadvantaged. When face-to-face schooling resumed, some students struggled to reconnect with routines, expectations, and school life. This issue also has equity and gender implications. UNICEF highlighted that boys' disengagement remains a concern, and boys are more likely than girls to drop out of education. This matters not only for schools, but also for employment, social stability, crime prevention, and national productivity. Now, there are several factors contributing to student disengagement and absenteeism. One major factor is the socioeconomic hardship. Some students face poverty, food insecurity, transportation problems, lack of school supplies, limited access to technology, and unstable homes. These challenges affect their readiness and ability to attend school consistently. A second factor is the perceived lack of relevance of schooling. Some students do not see how what they are learning connects to their future goals or everyday living. In the Caribbean, where young people are exposed to entrepreneurship, sports, entertainment, online work, and informal employment, schooling must feel meaningful. If the curriculum appears too examination driven or disconnected from real life, students may become less motivated. A third factor is low academic confidence. As a mathematics teacher, I have seen that disengagement often begins quietly. Some students avoid eye contact, stop completing work, remain silent, or joke to hide confusion. In mathematics, especially, weak foundational skills can make new topics frustrating. When students repeatedly experience failure, they may, beco- they may begin to believe that success is impossible. School climate is another factor. Students may more likely Students are more likely to disengage when they do not feel safe, represented, included, or connected to the school community. Bullying, harsh discipline, poor teacher-student relationship, peer conflict, and lack of student voices can weaken students' sense of belonging. We also has weak attendance monitoring, which can also worsen the issue. Moving along to the implications of education leadership, this issue has a direct impact on educational leadership and management. It challenges the school's core purpose, which is to promote learning and development. Leaders cannot focus only on timetables, discipline, examination, and administration. They must also be instructional leaders, data users, motivators, community builders, and advocates for students' well-being. From an instructional leadership perspective, absenteeism disrupts curriculum continuity. Teachers may have to repeat lessons, provide makeup work, and support students who are at different levels because of inconsistent attendance. From a management perspective, schools must maintain accurate register, contact parents, monitor patterns, organize counseling, and sometimes involve social workers or educational officers. This also affects teacher morale. When students are frequently absent or disengaged, teachers may feel frustrated or discouraged. Ethical leaders must therefore help teachers understand disengagement as a complex issue, not simply as laziness or defiance. Implications to governance. There are also implications for governance, accountability, and decision making. Governance is not only about authority, it is about how decisions are made, how rules are assigned, how resources are used, and how outcomes are monitored. Attendance registers should not be routine documents only. They should form part of an early warning system. Teachers, form teachers, counselors, parents, and school leaders must all understand their responsibility. Decision making must also become more evidence based. Leaders should use evidence data, attendance data, lateness records, assessment results, behavior reports, teacher observations, and student feedbacks, to name a few, to identify patterns. For example, if absenteeism is higher among a certain year group on particular days or in a specific subject, leaders should investigate the cause before implementing solutions. If the issue is not addressed, the consequences are serious. In the short term, students lose instructional time, miss assignments, perform poorly, and return to class confused. On the other hand, in the long term, students may leave school without acquiring qualifications. This limits employment opportunities, weakens the human capital development, and may contribute to unemployment, inequality, crime, and further social instability. However, this challenge also creates opportunities for leadership. The first opportunity is to establish a data-informed early warning and student support system. This system would use attendance, lateness, academic performance, behavior records, teacher observations, and counseling referrals to identify students at risk. The benefit is that the school can respond early instead of waiting until the students fail or drop out. However, this requires trained teacher personnel, time, digital tools, con confidentiality, and clear follow-up procedures. The second opportunity is to create more relevant, inclusive, and engaging learning experiences. Schools can strengthen engagement by making learning active, socially centered, and connected to Caribbean realities. This may include project-based learning, educational games, technology, entrepreneurship activities, clubs, sports, arts, and even real-life examples, to name a few. In mathematics, for example, percentages, budgeting, measurement, and data handling can be linked to things such as sports, farming, construction, or even household budgeting. The benefits is that students are more likely to participate when learning feels meaningful. However, barriers may include teacher resistance, limited resources, syllabus pressure, and lack of professional development. Based on this issue, I propose three recommendations. First, schools should establish an attendance and engagement monitoring team. This team may include senior teachers, form teachers, a counselor, and selected teachers. The team would monitor attendance, lateness, academic performance, and signs of disengagement. Sorry about that. Students who miss 10% or more of school days should submit work or show declining performance, should be flagged for support. Success can be measured through improved attendance, punctuality, assessment completion, participation, and documented follow-ups. Second, leaders should strengthen instructional leadership. Since disengagement often begins in the classroom, teachers need support to use active, inclusive, and student-centered strategies. This can be done through professional development, peer observation, and sharing best practices. Success can be measured through class observations, student feedback, engagement surveys, and improved assessment results. Third, schools should strengthen home school community partnerships. Many causes of absenteeism begin outside of the classroom, so schools cannot solve the problem alone. Leaders should work with parents, social agencies, community groups, faith-based organizations, local businesses, and the Ministry of Education. Strategies may include regular parent contact, flexible meeting, mentoring, and even student recognition programs. Success can be measured through improved parent participation, better attendance, fewer behavioral referrals, and student reporting that they feel supported. In reflection on leadership, this issue shows that educational leadership is complex and deeply connected to students' lives. Leaders need instructional leadership, data literacy, communication, and resource mobilization. Ethical leadership is especially important. Leaders must treat absenteeism as an issue of equity, care, and social justice. Some students are absent not because they do not care, but because they face challenges that are not immediately visible. Ethical leaders should ask, what support does this student need? Rather than simply asking, why is the student not attending? From my own experience as a mathematics teacher, I have learned that students often respond when lessons feel relevant, when they experience small success, and when teachers show patience, while maintaining high expectations. But classroom effort alone is not enough. Sustained improvement requires school-wide systems, parental support, leadership follow-ups, and a culture where students feel valued. In conclusion, student disengagement and absenteeism presents a serious challenge for Caribbean schools, but they also create an opportunity for transformation. Through ethical, collaborative, data-informed, and innovative leadership, schools can improve attendance, strengthen belonging, enhance learning outcomes, and become more responsive. The goal is not simply to bring students back to school. The goal is to build schools where students see purpose, experience support, and believe their presence truly matters. I thank you.